Boys and girls, this is out of your magnetic workbook. This is the Unit 3 assessment, pages 428 to 429, the spider and the fly, and also pages 432 to 435, rescuing the reefs, and the race to save Florida's coral reefs. The Spider and the Fly by Mary Howitt. "Will you walk into my parlor?" said the spider to the fly. "'Tis the prettiest little parlor that ever you did spy. The way into the parlor, the way into my parlor is up a winding stair, and I have many pretty things to show when you are there." "Oh, no, no," said the little fly, "to ask me is in vain, for who goes up your winding stair can never come down again." "I'm sure you must be weary, dear, with soaring up so high. Will you rest upon my little bed?" said the spider to the fly. "There are pretty curtains drawn around, the sheets are fine and thin, and if you like to rest a while, I'll snugly tuck you in." "Oh, no, no," said the little fly, "for I've often heard it said, they never, never wake again who sleep upon your bed." Said the cunning spider to the fly, "Dear friend, what shall I do to prove the warm affection I've always felt for you? I have within my pantry good store of all that's nice. I'm sure you're very welcome. Will you please take a slice?" "Oh, no, no," said the little fly, "kind sir, that cannot be. I've heard what's in your pantry, and I do not wish to see." "Sweet creature," said the spider, "you're witty and you're wise. How handsome are your gauzy wings, how brilliant are your eyes. I have a little looking glass upon my parlor shelf. If you'll step in one moment, dear, you'll shall behold yourself." "I thank you, gentle sir," she said, "for what you're pleased to say, and bidding you good morning now, I'll call another day." The spider turned him round about and went into his den, for well he knew the silly fly would soon be back again. So he wove a subtle web in a little corner sly, and set his table ready to dine upon the fly. Then he came out to his door again, and merrily did sing, "Come hither, hither, pretty fly, with the pearl and silver wing. Your robes are green and purple, there's a crest upon your head. Your eyes are like the diamond bright, but mine are dull as lead." Alas, alas, how very soon this silly little fly, hearing his wily flattering words, came slowly flitting by. With buzzing wings she hung aloft, then near and nearer drew, thinking only of her brilliant eyes and green and purple hue, thinking only of her crested head. Poor foolish thing! At last up jumped the cunning spider and fiercely held her fast. He dragged her up his winding stair into his dismal den, within his little parlor, but she never came out again. And now, dear little children, who may this story read, to idle, silly, flattering words, I pray you never give heed. Sorry, let me start that stanza over again. And now, dear little children, who may this story read, to idle, silly, flattering words, I pray you never give heed. Unto an evil counselor, close heart and ear and eye, and take a lesson from this tale of the spider and the fly. Okay, now would be a good moment to pause if you want to also listen to the next two passages, which start on page 432. I'm going to go ahead and begin. Rescuing the Reefs by Meredith Maxwell. Their strange shapes and bright colors look like something out of a dream, but coral reefs are very real, and they're full of life. These underwater structures can be found in many parts of the world. They are formed by coral polyps, tiny animals living close together. They grow along the ocean floor, connected by a single skeleton that gets bigger as they reproduce. Holes and tunnels within these structures provide food and hiding places for many fish and other sea creatures. In fact, a quarter of the world's fish depend on coral reefs for survival. Human activities and a changing climate have damaged many coral reefs, but scientists are developing ways to build them back up. One method involves using artificial or human made materials to create a new reef. A second method involves regrowing corals on damaged natural reefs. Both methods achieve similar results, but upon comparison, they each have good points and bad points. Artificial reefs are created by placing a human made structure, such as an old ship, on the ocean floor. Coral polyps then attach themselves to the sunken object. One benefit of this method is that an artificial reef can be placed wherever it is needed. An artificial reef can also be larger than many natural reefs. However, an artificial reef may tip over or break apart in ocean waves and currents. It can also pollute. Over time, some of its materials can break down and release chemicals into the water. The second method restores the coral on a damaged reef. Scientists grow pieces of healthy coral in an underwater nursery and attach them to the reef. This process is called coral gardening. Unlike the artificial reef method, coral gardening involves a few human made materials. As a result, there's less chance of pollution. Also, compared with many artificial reefs, natural reefs are very sturdy. They can withstand powerful ocean turbulence. On the other hand, coral gardening is often more difficult and expensive than creating an artificial reef. Restoring natural coral reefs and building artificial ones take time and money, but experts believe the effort is worth it if we want to keep the ocean's underwater dream worlds alive. The Race to Save Florida's Coral Reefs, page 434 by Alice Carey. The Great Florida Reef is a national treasure. It is the only living coral reef system in the U.S. About 350 miles long, it is the third largest of its kind in the world. It contains more than 6,000 different reefs and over 80 species of coral, which provide shelter for millions of plants and animals. However, Florida's reefs are in serious trouble. Rising temperatures, disease, pollution, and human activity are threatening the corals. In recent decades, Florida has lost about 90% of the live corals that form the reefs. Now, the race is on to save the rest. Scientists are using several solutions to address the problem of Florida's dying reefs. One solution is to collect broken fragments of coral and grow them into much bigger pieces. This is being done in underwater coral nurseries off the coast of the Florida Keys. Once the newly grown pieces are large enough, divers use special glue to attach them to reefs. Since 2007, the Coral Restoration Foundation has added more than 120,000 corals. Another solution involves antibiotics, medicines used to treat infections in humans. Antibiotics are helping to treat stony coral, a type of coral that is being attacked by disease. Divers apply the medicine to the coral. So far, these treatments have saved more than 2,000 corals in the Florida Reef. One of the biggest efforts to save Florida's reef is a project called Mission Iconic Reefs. Scientists are restoring the corals at 7 major reef sites. One part of the work involves removing algae and other invasive life forms. The other part involves planting new corals. Scientists are using species that grow quickly or are resistant to disease. Over the next 20 years, the project hopes to restore nearly 3 million square feet of the reefs. That's about the size of 52 football fields. A combination of these solutions can help save the Great Florida Reef, but there are still the ongoing problems of pollution and other harmful human activities. However, experts are hopeful that if we work together, this underwater treasure can be preserved.